The Crew 2, Free Roam Cops. What do we know so far? Is it planned? Is it gonna happen? And what are the conceptual ideas possible given the information that's been put out already by way of the trailers? Now, usually some of the videos that I actually put out are actually shaped and formed by some of the comments that I read from you guys. I wanna say a massive shout out to LS Big Mac 23, who actually dropped a comment on a video recently asking, I wonder, are they still gonna have cops? That was actually on a video that I dropped called Racing Disciplines Explained. Please check that video out if you haven't and you want to know more about how racing disciplines will be working in the Crew 2. So those of you that played the Crew 1 and those of you who haven't, there was a protagonist who you played going by the name of Alex, and to cut a very long story short, basically what you were trying to do was get revenge and bring to life the reasons as to why your brother was murdered, shining the spotlight on those who were involved, bringing them to justice. Now, in the actual story itself, there was a huge heavy cop influence, both in the actual story itself as well as the craziness and the madness and mishaps you can get yourself into as part of the actual open world. Now, for those of you who didn't play the Crew 1, and maybe for those of you who actually forgot just how ingrained cops was to the story of the Crew 1, what I'm going to do now is break down exactly how it works, just so that it refreshes your memory and it sets the correct tone for the purpose of this video. The Crew is a large map with almost nearly all the cities of America combined, challenges at every corner and races to run. But when it comes to open world racing at high speed, police are just around the corner, which can put things back a bit. There are police all around the map, from cities to countryside. You can be sure they are always there. The police and the Crew can be seen patrolling the roads and highways and even dirt trails. Police will be called in when you are crashing into objects and running over traffic. Within the game, there were 5 different types of police vehicles. The Ford Crown Victoria Police Interceptor. This vehicle is the most common police vehicle. It is used to chase the player when he is driving a full stock or a street spec car. We also had the Ford Raptor police vehicle. This vehicle was used when the player is driving a dirt spec or raid spec vehicle. It performs better off-road compared to other police cars. The Ford Raptor police units will only chase the player when he was driving on the countryside. Next up, we have the Dodge Charger. This vehicle is used when the player is driving a perf spec vehicle. It's faster and tougher than the police Interceptor. We also have the Chevrolet Corvette police vehicle. This vehicle is used when the player is driving a circuit spec car. It's the fastest police vehicle used by the local law enforcement. And last but not least, we also had the police helicopter. The police helicopter is deployed if the player has 4 stars. It is able to keep up with the fastest cars and is also able to follow players on places where ground units have trouble keeping up. Now, in terms of the actual police forces themselves, there are 10 different police forces present. 5 of these are state police, 1 for each state, and the other 5 are city police, 1 for each biggest city per state. The 5 city police forces are Chicago Police Department, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Miami, and New York. The 5 state police forces are Deep South State Police, East Coast State Police, Midwest, Mountain States, and West Coast State Police. Right, here's how the police heat and star system worked in the Crew 1. The police had police units patrolling on the streets, highways, and dirt roads. Whenever a police unit is in the area, a police watch message with a camera next to it will appear on the top of the screen. If the player starts ramming traffic cars off the road and or smashes objects like light poles and fences, the police dispatcher can be heard mentioning a reckless driver. After this, another bar will start filling up, indicating how much destruction you have caused. If this bar is filled all the way before the last police unit, the player will receive a star and the police will now give chase. So that is an initial overview of exactly how the Crew 1 cop system worked as a fundamental mechanism when the game was launched. Ivory Tower then enhanced that and took it a step further, turned the level up by then launching the Calling All Units DLC pack. Essentially, to cut a very long story short, that was almost their version of Need for Speed Rivals, in that you got a whole load of new police cars that you could use, a whole load of different weapons that you could use, like EMP strikes and weapons that cause the cops to actually lose control. You had the opportunity to do cops versus robbers. You could go in and be a robber trying to get away from a whole lobby full of people that are police based, or you could actually be law enforcement yourself. It added tons of variety, it added tons of action, and as I said, it took what was already fundamentally a pretty damn good cop system to a new level. Now, my initial thoughts to the actual comment that Big Mac 23 actually posted, again, I wonder, are they still gonna have cops? When I first saw that comment, my first initial thought was, I don't think so, because even though we haven't got much information thus far, the little information that we could extract from the trailers that have been put out from The Crew 2 suggests that they're moving away from the dark and murky and mysterious sort of murder mystery based revenge style cliche storylines to more so something in line to a celebration of motorsport. Obviously there are going to be loads of different types of vehicles on this game, from land vehicles to sea vehicles to road vehicles, and it's almost as if your whole purpose of playing that game is to be the master of motorsports by either mastering one of those classes or trying to master all of them. We haven't really seen anything that goes in hand with what we saw last time around in terms of like action-based narrative. That coupled with the fact that we haven't actually seen any cop-based footage within the game so far, none of the big YouTubers have released anything that shows that, and we didn't see Ubisoft show anything in relation to cops when The Crew 2 was spoken about in recent press conferences. All that led me to believe that no, we probably aren't going to have cops. Until I saw this. So as you quite clearly saw from that little bit of footage and the images, there was a police helicopter. There were also cops running along the actual bridge in some sort of highway cop chase. The OJ Simpson trial. Now, let me put something out here and make it absolutely fundamentally clear to you guys. This does not confirm that there will be police in the game. This doesn't confirm there will be free roaming cops in the game. This doesn't confirm anything whatsoever. But what it does do is that it gives us the opportunity to speculate, because as I mentioned earlier on, the way in which this game is being promoted thus far, it didn't seem like there was going to be any cops whatsoever. But to have it in one of the actual trailers, it kind of leads us down the road of now being able to possibly discuss it as a feasible option. And when I started thinking about this more and more in my head and thinking about the different types of vehicles in The Crew 2, the different types of cars, boats, planes, etc., I started to realize this could actually open the door for amazing possibilities. Imagine having a cop chase on sea that then goes to the air, that then goes back to the road, that then goes off-road. That is crazy. Running around across the whole of the United States of America trying to get away from crazy, incensed and enraged patrol speedboats, thinking you can lose them by taking to the sky, then looking over your shoulder and seeing 3 or 4 different police helicopters chasing you down, realizing that you're going to have to use all sorts of different agile stunts, agile twists and turns in your little fighter jet, skimming underneath buildings, skimming in between skyscrapers, switching to your KTM motocross bike or your Indian Chief and finding that you're being hunted down by police patrol motorcyclists or motorbikeists, whatever you want to call them. It just starts to build up to be a potential concoction of absolute bedlam. This is a possibility. If this was to come to fruition, if Ivory Tower were to actually build this type of mechanism into The Crew 2, the multiplayer, or multiplayer as some of you pronounce it, possibilities will be absolute. Do you realize they'll be insane? They'll be crazy. And I mean this in a good way. Imagine you could have like the air team versus the land team versus the sea team, and you've all got different types of weaponry like EMPs and all sorts, and the choppers in the sky can shoot EMPs at the damn freaking boats in the water that can shoot all sorts of things that can blow the tires out of the cars that are actually on the road, and the cars on the road can actually use all sorts of disable based technique. Oh my goodness, I'm starting to get a headache. But do you see how this is a possibility? Do you now see that this is a possibility? The reason why I had to actually remind you guys of how the cops mechanism worked in The Crew 1 was so that you understood just how deep Ivory Tower went in terms of making a really authentic cop-based experience, because it's easy to look at it from surface level and say there are cops in the game, but when you actually understand just how detailed the process was in putting that together and how it worked, you start to understand that cops is something that Ivory Tower obviously do take seriously, and that's further underlined by the fact they made a whole expansion calling all units, as we covered earlier on. So I guess what I want to know from you guys is, what are your thoughts on this? Would you like to see free roam cops in the crew too? Do you think it's important? And also, most importantly, given the style of the narrative that seems to be being pushed out at this present moment in time in terms of the Festival of Motorsports and climbing your way to the top of that, will you be upset not to see it? So jot them down in the comments, let me know. If it's your first time around here, I wish you a born welcome. If you're enjoying the Crew 2 content that I'm putting out, please feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, swing the damn hell out of the notification bell, and of course I will see you when the next video comes out. Take it easy, peace.